Hi YouTube, my name is Heather and I love anti-MLM content here on YouTube. Today I'm super excited for us to watch part of a Ray Higdon video where he is teaching us about edification in network marketing. So as always, I am really excited to get started and please let me know what you think about this down below.
Today we're going to dive into what is edification in network marketing. So first I'm just going to explain what it is and how do you do it. Next I'm going to share with you some funny stories about a lack of edification and how I overcame those.
That story, I think his feelings were just hurt and he was whining, in my opinion.
And lastly, we're going to talk about the 4 components that dictate your success in network marketing.
We are not going to talk about that part of the video because it's boring and it's in like every second video of his.
All right, so what is edification? Edification is simply telling one person or a group of people about the great qualities of another person. And so this is most commonly.
So that's the definition that Ray Higdon is basing this video on. And I just put edification into Google, and this is what I learned. Okay. To edify is defined as to instruct someone in a way that enlightens or uplifts them morally, spiritually, or intellectually. Example, when you educate someone about a complex religious subject. Here's another religious example. As good Christians, we must seek to edify our neighbors about God and Jesus Christ. So, in that case, a Christian could edify their neighbors if they're teaching them about the importance of God in their day to day life. That makes sense, right? And then a non religious example, the teacher hoped her speech about good citizenship would edify her students and encourage them to contribute to their communities. So, according to Google, edification is just teaching someone about a religious or a moral subject. According to Ray Higdon, it is about talking about the good qualities of a person. Please let me know if I'm missing something, if there's another definition of edification out there somewhere, or whether or not you think that Ray Higdon is just misusing the word edification. I'm not sure if he's trying to tell us to edify our uplines by making them seem morally or intellectually superior. I'm not sure. I might be completely misunderstanding it, but we are going to talk about what he says based on his definition of edification, which is just talking about the good qualities of an individual. So if you think I'm missing something, if there's another definition of edification that relates to his definition, please let me know. So, as I just said, we're going to react based on his definition, not based on Google's definition.
Used when introducing maybe your upline or your sponsor or anyone that's helping you in a sale. You're edifying that person to the prospect. You are not over edifying the prospect to the person helping you close. This is a very common mistake where people will edify the person they're talking to because they're trying to make them feel good. But that is a problem in psychology because you actually need to get your prospect paying more attention and thinking that the person you're introducing them to is a very important person.
So, in the sales context, it is important for you as a salesperson to have control over the conversation and to make sure that you can steer the conversation in a way that benefits you and that the prospect isn't doing that themselves. So, he's saying that we have to make sure we're edifying our uplines. So, talking about the very good qualities of our uplines to our prospects instead of trying to make our prospects feel more comfortable and edifying them to our uplines. Does that make sense? So, and in my opinion, in his definition, edification is just sucking up to your uplines and making them feel very, very good about themselves and stroking their ego. What do you think about that?
How do you do that? Well, there's a couple ways. Now, one, everyone has their like favorite trainer or teacher or whatever in their network marketing company. And I've actually seen
That's very true. We've talked about this so many times that there's in Beachbody, people idolize the top 10 elite coaches and they're like mini celebrities in the company. And people will follow them around at Summit and at the Success Club trip. And there's also very well known like life coaches that work with MLM distributors to help them teach their or coach their team. So, like life or mindset coaches. So, there are like MLM coaches who are very or MLM distributors who are very famous within the MLM, and then there are also like outside people who come in and train the teams.
people that said, "Hey, hey, come to this event. You know, this guy Joe is speaking there, and he's really good. He's not as good as my friend Randy, but I really like him. He's good." What does that say to the prospect? Oh, this guy is not the greatest. Okay, should I wait for Randy? No, no, no. Whoever the speaker is, that's the bee's knees, the cat's pajamas. This is the person that
So you have to pretend to like the speaker more than you actually do to make the prospect to make the prospect feel like they're more important than they actually are. So in my opinion, like you're being dishonest about your actual feelings towards this MLM speaker.
oh my God, they're amazing. I can't believe they're in town. Don't ever mention someone who's not going to be a part of the transaction or event as being higher than the person that's going to be there. Now, if you're edifying on like let's say a three-way call or even a three-way message, right? So people use Messenger to get multiple people in a group and have chats. You need to edify that person you're bringing on because they're helping you. Now, whether you
Why do you need to edify them, sir? Because they're helping you. So I'm using edify in his context. Obviously, it's incorrect in my opinion, but you have to stroke the ego of your upline just because they're helping you. So in MLM, uplines expect to be treated like royalty where they don't have to treat their downlines in the same way. And I think there is a significant power imbalance there where there are different levels, there's different standards of behavior between people of different levels of the pyramid. What do you think about that?
like them, whether you think they're the greatest or not, you need to edify them. So here's an example. If I was getting someone on,
Whether or not you like them, you still have to kiss their ass, apparently, according to Ray Higdon, and you have to be dishonest to make them seem like they're this great, amazing person, even if you hate them, just so the prospect will connect with them so you can draw the prospect into your fraudulent business structure. That seems really dishonest to me, Ray.
a three-way call to help me with a sale or help me, explain to a prospect what we're doing, I would say, hey, listen, I'm going to do my very best to get Joe. And Joe, wow, this guy is super successful. I don't know if we can even get him. And, maybe we can catch him in between meetings. And so, I try to get him on and I get him on and I say, oh, hey, good news, we got Joe. Listen, he's got to run in like 3 or 4 minutes, so we only got a few minutes with him. Joe, this is my good friend Barbara. She's looking at the opportunity. Can you, I know you only have a few minutes. Notice the urgency. It's like,
Yes, Ray, we notice the urgency. I feel like Ray tends to say things that he thinks are really deep and profound, but they actually aren't that big of a deal. Notice the urgency. Yes, because you're making up an urgent situation. Do you think MLM distributors are taught to pretend that their upline doesn't have a lot of time? And do you think they act out that kind of scenario just to make that prospect feel like they're in some exclusive fancy conversation? Because if a high up MLM distributor really only had 3 or 4 minutes between meetings, do you think they're really going to jump on another call? No, they're going to go to the bathroom. They're going to see their kids or their husband or wife. They're not going to jump on another call. So I feel like this is garbage. And it's just like he probably, if he actually did this, he probably just made up the scenario to make the conversation seem more exclusive than it actually is. What do you think? Do you think I'm reading too much into it? We all know that I'm not a Ray Higdon fan, and I think everything he says is manipulative, but I think this is probably a fake scenario.
whoa, okay, oh, whoa, whoa. So people tend to pay attention. Oh, they're very busy and important and powerful and whatever, right? And so you got to use that kind of psychology, or else, you just, being, straight shooter. Here's Joe, and he's pretty decent, and, he's not bad. No one wants to pay attention to that. You got to edit.
Raymond, who would sit there and say, "Oh, Joe's okay"? No, like in a normal situation, in a normal office environment, if I was inviting my boss Joseph, I can't think of a better name. Wow, Joseph to a meeting and be like, "Oh, this is Joseph. This is his title. He's been in the company for this long, and he's really good at this part that he's going to help you with. So I'm really excited to introduce you." Why would anyone introduce a boss like, "Oh, he's okay"? So in your mind, Ray, it has to either be, "Oh, he's okay, whatever, it's Joe," or you have to like kiss Joe's ass. So I don't know why we can't just be normal and be in the middle. And if I was watching this in an MLM and I was told that I have to like bow down to my upline's feet anytime they help me with anything, that'd be a red flag. I'd be like, well, they're just like me, aren't they? They always say, like, I'm not special. I just did the tasks that I have to do. So why am I being told to worship them pretty much to any prospect that I talk to? That doesn't make any sense. What do you think? Remember, his definition of edify is just talk about the good qualities of another person or a group of people.
Edify that person. And so I want to give you one example where I wasn't edified. I think
This really hurt his feelings. Listen to this.
I think you'll like this story. So I had a rep on my team named Amy, and Amy at the time, although she's not any longer, at the time she was an executive for HBO, and so she's out in LA. She's around actors, actresses, and all that world, right? Very different world. She texts me and she says, "Hey, I got a big wig. Can you help me out with a three-way call?" I'm like, "Sure, no problem." She gets me on this call and she says, Ray, this is Barbara. Barbara runs the biggest talent agency in Hollywood. She knows all the celebrities. She's incredible, has a humongous business. Everyone in town knows her. And Barbara, here's Ray. So right, she did the opposite. She over edified the prospect, under edified me, or didn't edify me at all. Right. So Barbara comes in and
His feelings are so hurt by that, which is so funny. Maybe it's because Barbara just has a cool job and she works with celebrities all the time, and you are literally an MLM coach or distributor or whatever at that time. And sorry, but working in Hollywood is more exciting and more fun to talk about than what you do, Raymond. So that's just how it works. Her job's cooler.
as you can imagine, as the 80-pound, gorilla, "Hello, little Ray." I swear this was her tone. So her tone was,
That's literally your tone of voice in every single video. You have such a condescending, demeaning tone when you talk to people. And I wonder if this was a man who was having this conversation, if you would have been so insulted and if you would exaggerate this much, because I doubt that she was going, "Oh, hello, little Ray." I doubt that was the case. You're just exaggerating, in my opinion, because it was a woman talking to you. Oh no.
"Hello there, Ray. I told my friend Amy I would look at her little business. How are you doing?" Right? I'm like, "Hi, I'm fine. Hello, Barbara." Right? So I'm little guy, little hands, and this is big Barbara because she's been so edified. Now, you cannot sell or recruit when the posture is like that, when the prospect is way up here and you're a itty bitty guy, right? And so you have to do something to correct it. And I found the sooner you do this, the better. I could
That's actually a reasonable sales thing because you can't have a power imbalance when the prospect is appearing to be more influential in the conversation than you are. So that part makes sense. I just think it's funny that he was so insulted by this woman who appeared to think she was superior to him when he talks like that in every single one of his videos. And I just said this very condescending. As you can tell, I'm not a fan of Ray Higdon. What do you think?
have just said, "Yes, thanks for your time, Barbara." Right? I could have done that kind of thing, but that would have taken a long time to balance out. So instead, I just made what I thought was the obvious statement. And the obvious statement was, "Well, hey, Barbara, I'm curious if you're doing so well. Why are we even on the phone? Why are we even on the phone?" And I shut up. And there was a sigh. There was a pause, then a sigh. "Well, business isn't as good as it used to be. We had a few clients leave, and I'm really not sure about the industry right now." "Oh, okay."
Another sales thing, because you do need to know you need to know your prospects' pain points and why your solution, like your product or your service, how it'll meet their needs. So while I strongly dislike everything Ray Higdon says, that part is a reasonable sales tactic. Again, I just think it's funny that he was so insulted by this, and in my opinion, I think his ego was hurt. If this is even a real story, he might have just made it up to prove a point.
See, now we're eye to eye. Now by me challenging her, saying, why were we even on the phone? It balanced out the force there, right? And so now we can have an actual conversation. I can't have a conversation like this and end in a positive result. This is why edification it's one of the reasons that edification is just so important, is you're making your own job easier when you edify someone else. So don't be worried about, some people are so worried to give someone else credit that they shoot themselves in the foot. Be willing to edify. Before we get
Be willing to stroke my ego. That's what he's saying.
to my last point, as you grow your team, don't you want them to edify you? Don't you want to be edified?
Don't you want them to kiss your ass and make you feel good and treat you so amazingly when you can treat them however you want because you're an upline and you're making money off of them? That's pretty much what he's saying. Isn't that weird?
And so feel free to share this with them. This may really help you solve a lot of problems. I don't want you to have to fight uphill like I had to so many times, right?
You are so hard done by, Ray. Oh my God. People didn't automatically just like bow at your feet and you had to like challenge them a little bit to balance out the power structure in a meeting. Like, who cares? You're fine. You still claim to make millions of dollars in network marketing. So all the times that people didn't properly edify you, you still succeeded. So it's okay. You'll be okay.
And so feel free to share this video with your team. Feel free to post it in your Facebook groups or whatever, however you get messages to your team, feel free to share. All right.
That's all I want to talk about. The next part's boring and it's so repetitive. But I know I was a little bit more sarcastic in this video than I usually am. I just think it's so funny that his definition of edify, like to talk about the good qualities of individuals or a group of people, I think that it's just to stroke the ego of your upline of famous MLM coaches. And I think it's just a way to ensure that there's a power imbalance between the uplines and the downlines. What do you think about that while remembering his definition, just to talk about good qualities of another person? And remember, the real definition is just to teach moral or ethical or intellectual lessons to someone. So if you think that I might have missed something about like another definition of edify somewhere that is more related to what he's saying, please let me know. This definition I read was just from Google. I didn't do like really intense research. I just wanted to know like the basic definition of edification. So please let me know if there is a part in it that relates to what he's saying and if I kind of missed the mark on that one. Also, let me know what you think about the conversation around his use of edification and that context, and what you think about how he tells us that we need to edify our uplines and everyone who helps us, and if we were an upline, wouldn't we want to be edified too? So that's all I have for today. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.